Yay.
I did it. Recording in progress.
Good job, honey.
All right. Welcome everybody to whatever this is. Is it a podcast? Is it a YouTube series? We don't know. We have no idea. I don't like labels. I'm Heather Hart. This is Geoff Hart. We are co-founders of Heart Strength and Endurance Coaching, and we are stoked to have Tracey Brower of Possum Jump Adventures with us today. Tracey's races are one of the two race series we are sponsoring this year, and we love what she's doing in the adventure racing and just the endurance racing world. So we wanted to have a nice little chat with her today. So thank you, Tracey, for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
So let's get this right out of the way here. Tell us what you do.
Okay, so I am Tracey Brower, and I am the event director for Possum Jump Adventures, which is an Atlanta-based, there go my phones, an Atlanta-based company that puts on outdoor events. So I do primarily adventure races. I have a few other things that I do, but most of my events are adventure races of varying lengths. My races go from 8 hours to 18. Awesome. I don't have any of the expedition length races yet, but you can get a pretty good variety of lengths and terrains and so forth with my events.
Awesome. And so we know a little bit of your background, that you previously worked for another adventure racing company and kind of decided to go on your own to reach out to kind of a population or I don't want to say niche, but a group, with kind of a different approach, maybe like the beginners. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I try to make my races not so beginner friendly that nobody else can do it, but I try to really extend a hand to the newer racers, because so many of and there's all these events are great and everything. I'm not talking down anybody's events, but if you're new, it's really hard to wrap your mind around an 18-hour event or a 24-hour event where you're going to have like really serious navigation and hours of paddling, and like that's terrifying to somebody who hasn't done it. Mm-hmm. And I tried, and I'm really transparent about the fact that I only was into adventure racing for a couple of years before I started putting my own events on. So I can still remember what it's like to show up on a starting line. Like, what the hell am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not prepared. Should I have a machete? I don't know. So I try to spend a lot of time soothing out that first time jitters so that people can get into the sport and get the bit in their teeth and be like, oh, that was amazing, I want to do that again, instead of, oh my God, that was God, I don't ever want to do that.
And I think that's fantastic. I know so many people only know about adventure racing from Eco Challenge, the most recent one. I personally first heard about adventure racing back in like 2012, but it was watching DVDs of, was it Primal Quest? So, same level of, oh my God, these people are crazy. And even as an endurance athlete myself, I, for years thought like, oh, that's completely unattainable for me, not just from a fitness level, but just logistics and finances. So, I love to see that there's more smaller, shorter, accessible races coming around, because holy cow.
Yeah, you can get your feet wet without being terrified.
Yeah, you have to get your feet wet, and you have to be able to do it more than once a year. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like running, an ultra marathon. Like, you don't run 10, 100-mile ultras a year, and you don't go to, people do like maybe 2 marathons a year or something. Mm-hmm. You can't do, honestly, just from an expense standpoint.
Yeah.
Half a dozen expedition races a year. Like, it's just not attainable for most people, but you can go out and do half a dozen or a dozen sport length races, 8-hour, 10-hour. That's just like a weekend's worth of fun.
Yeah.
That's not committing every bit of your training to it for 6 months and every bit of disposable income you've got to getting the right gear and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's something you can be like, hey, go call Bob from accounting. We're doing this, It's 3 weeks out. We can do this.
Yes, I love that. I love
So,
that.
you know, call the guy we go bowling with.
Yeah, right. I actually need to get some like endurance friends to go bowling with me. The opposite there. Nobody ever wants to go bowling or
No,
roller
just
skating
bowl.
or, but anyway,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
we
I
should.
like
Find the
sports.
place that does the nighttime cosmic bowling where everything is neon.
So here we go on the first
Oh, yeah,
tangent of the night,
side
but
story.
we were totally gonna go roller skating last week for my birthday. And we did find out that on my birthday it was like adults only retro night, and I'm like, yes. But we were too tired.
Oh yeah, it
I thought she was gonna go down a different tangent.
What tangent?
Our wedding reception was at a bowling
Oh, yeah,
alley.
it was.
oh, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. We
That's
sang
hilarious.
karaoke.
We don't live in a trailer,
Um,
but our wedding
you should
reception.
be okay
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
trailer. There's nothing wrong with
but our
trailers.
wedding reception was at a bowling alley.
It was awesome. Fried
That's
food,
fantastic.
karaoke, bowling, and my brother-in-law won like I don't even know what game he was playing in the arcade, but he ended up with like the 10-mile long tickets. And so
Yes.
everyone's wedding favors were like plastic bracelets and rubber ducks and things. But anyway,
That's hysterical.
back to
That's the
adventure
way to
racing.
go, man.
Number two.
I know.
Nobody,
Here we go.
nobody wants to sit and have salmon. People want to
Oh,
bowl.
you get mozzarella sticks and chicken nuggets. But back to adventure racing. So,
Okay.
Tracey, you have been in this realm way longer than we have. I'd love to hear what you think are some of the biggest obstacles and like barriers to entry for beginners. Why do we not see more of these races or events in our country compared to other countries?
Well, I think that's two different questions.
Hmm.
So, in terms of getting it more popular in the United States, honestly, I think partially it's because it's not a TV friendly sport.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, like, you can even put curling on television, okay, and build some drama into it. But it is hard when people are running amok in the woods and everybody's on a different path to really get good vision. You know, we're a visual country. If
Mhm.
you don't show it to us in a picture, we don't do it. And it's also like this weird spot between a team and an individual sport.
Mm.
Like there's no big teams to follow. Um there's not, you know, there's not any kind of professional league or anything like that. And there's also nobody who's big and sexy like Michael Jordan or, you know, whatever. That would be my guess as to why it has grown slowly in the States.
Mhm.
And it does have a much longer I don't have a huge amount of experience with the New Zealand European arm of it. I do
Mhm.
know that it has a much longer time frame there. Hang
Mhm.
on,
Yeah, it definitely seems
try to
like
keep my cough down.
yeah.
And it gets a lot more publicity, you know, especially in New Zealand. Like in New Zealand, I think it's like a rock star thing.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
vibe I get too.
Like they
Yeah.
start young. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and you know, maybe it's just a quirk, you know, it's like soccer, you know, like there's soccer's insane everywhere but here. And I think sometimes it's just like stubbornness, like, no, we will
Yeah.
not let your
Yeah,
fruity
it's 'cause
Italian
the metric
sport.
system.
Right.
Because
We
we
have
use
these-
UTM in kilometers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so I don't know, but I think, yeah. And in terms of barrier to entry for new people, I think part of the problem is just nobody's ever heard of the damn thing.
Mhm.
You know, you talk about adventure racing and people are like, is that an off-road triathlon? And you know, you say that, and then somebody who's been adventuring for a while freaks out and starts screaming. But or they think it's the Amazing Race, you know,
Ah.
that was on TV,
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
which was a cool show, but not
Mhm.
adventure racing.
Right.
So yeah, people don't know what it is. And then for a long time, there was this weird, when I first started, so many years ago, there was like this weird thing that when you went to get information about it, nobody wanted to talk about it. You know, it was like, yeah, the first rule is you don't talk about Fight Club. So there were people showing up who had I had no idea what I was doing. And it was like this sink or swim thing. You got thrown into it and you either took to it or you didn't.
Mhm.
But now there's so much, people are putting a lot of effort into getting the word out about what it's about. When I talk to people now, it's about 50-50 if people have heard of it. And I'm guilty as much as the next person of using the, oh, it's an off-road triathlon shorthand. But I think as the word gets out about it and people understand the concept of it a little better, that will help. You know, and then you have to explain, well, you have a map, but you don't really have a path, and you can pick your own stuff, pick your own checkpoints, and you don't have to do it all. And like after a while that gets complicated to just explain to someone in a 15-second time span, you know, in an elevator speech. So I think those are all barriers. People are like you start talking about that and people are like, okay, you know, so you're not going to tell me where to go. You're not going to tell me how to get there. You're going to tell me if I can ride my bike or not, but not which checkpoints. Okay, I don't understand this at all. So it gets kind of complicated, you know, to explain it really easily.
Absolutely. I like to describe it as a almost like a scavenger hunt, because I feel like in general scavenger hunts, you know, you can kind of do what you want or get what you can, but you don't have to necessarily get everything. People seem to kind of take to that. They're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Scavenger hunt.
It sounds fun. It sounds like elementary school all over.
It does. Yeah. So what are you doing? Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I use the scavenger hunt analogy a lot when I'm getting permits.
Yes.
I spend a lot of time talking to people who would rather not be talking. Well, I spend a lot of time talking to people who'd rather not be talking to me anyway, but about the permits, you know, who are like, you're going to come into my park or my national forest and do what now? And so I'm like always trying to play it down, you know. I think Randy Erickson was the one who asked me, do you show Eco Challenge to people? And I'm like, Jesus, no.
I feel like that's a horrible idea.
They'd see the first 10 minutes and never answer the phone again. But so I'm like, yeah, it's a scavenger hunt. We're just helping people get with their inner child and enjoy the outdoors. And
Perfect.
You know,
I like that.
Which isn't far from the truth.
Yeah, it's
not completely.
Yeah. I have to share with everyone listening that our first possum jump race, speaking of scavenger hunt and go where you want, it was a little different in that Tracey had us in a park with let's see, how do you say it?
Unexploded ordnance.
Unexploded or potential bombs in the forest. So in most races, unless told otherwise, you can go wherever you want. You don't have to stay on a trail. You can go, you know, take the shortest route from point A to point B. But in this particular race, Tracey asked us to stay on the path. And
thank you for that too.
Yeah, that was important.
Yeah, you know, everyone wants to keep their legs and stay alive. And I cannot tell you how many times I'd be like, oh, I really want to go through here, but Tracey said no. I don't want to. I'm not going to blow up.
Yeah, so they were quite firm about that.
Yes. So I love that. You know, they were like, yeah, sure, you can have a permit, just don't, you know, don't.
Don't blow yourself up. Yeah, and when I'm laying stuff out, I always give the permit people these really intricately drawn maps that are like shows, you know, every little footstep that people are going to take, and knowing that as soon as the gun goes off, you guys are going to do whatever the hell you want.
Right. Yeah. It has your experience been so far that, you know, the park rangers are they really want to know the fine details, or I know on the opposite end, like we have the other race series we sponsor, Eagle Endurance. It's all ultra marathons in the Francis Marion National Forest, and I know he has 5 or 6 year permit, and they're like, we don't want to know, just don't tell us, just go in the woods.
I think the Croft people are like that. They were like, yeah, as long as nobody gets kicked in the face by a horse, do whatever the hell you want and don't bother us. It sort of depends. When I was designing the race that wound up in Croft, I actually had planned to put it in a park in North Carolina, and it didn't work out because the rangers there were just too uptight about it. Like it was just making them too nervous, and the possibility of somebody going off trail, or you know, there was a game lands next door like if the park butted up against a game lands, there was a possibility there'd be people hunting. And at one point, the ranger there was like, what if somebody shoots a gun in the game range and the bullet? Sorry. Hang on.
Tracy's recovering from the flu.
I'm sorry, I've had the flu. I know, I'm not a serial killer. And what if a bullet like travels all the way onto the hiking trails at the park and hits one of your participants? I was like, okay, at that point, God wanted that person dead. And there's really nothing we can do. And he was like, no, I just don't know if I could take the risk.
Oh my.
And so eventually we moved it.
Mhm.
So it just depends. And then again, I went to the guy at Croft, and the Croft ranger was like, God, that sounds amazing. Let's do it. So it depends. For the city of Savannah, I always turn in a really detailed map.
Mhm.
Again, knowing that nobody's going to follow it. But they're actually surprisingly easy to deal with too. Like I expected them to be, just like, okay, your people can't do this and can't do this. And they're like, yeah, just don't bother the tourists, And I'm like, my people are tourists. You're not even going to know.
Yeah.
That is true.
They're going to be going through the historic district just like your other tourists are. Except they'll be sober. That'll be the only
difference. A little worse and looking a little worse.
Looking a little questionable, but yeah.
I don't know. Have you been to Savannah like on a Saturday morning?
No, I've never been.
Never been to
This will be
Savannah.
a first for us. We're very excited.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Savannah's a party town.
Okay.
It's an open container party town.
Jeez.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people looking a little for
Little
the
ragged.
worst.
Yeah.
Okay, that was good to know.
We'll blend right in then.
Yeah.
All I know about Savannah is they dye the river green at St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, I just actually talked to my permit person yesterday because I was like, hey, where's my permit? It's taking a long time. And she's like, yeah, we're busy with St. Patrick's Day. I'll get back to you next week.
I can imagine. I've heard it's crazy there. They
They
do.
Yeah, it's mad out.
The Whitewater Center, but like bigger
Yeah, the Whitewater Center I can see.
because it's indoors. Well, not indoors, but it's man-made. Yeah.
Controlled,
Yeah. I don't know the details, but I imagine it's, they've been doing it forever. So I'm sure they've got it under control. But that's another topic for another day. So Tracey, tell us a little bit about what sets Possum Jump adventure races, specifically the adventure races, apart from other races, and how do you make them, more beginner friendly, but also balanced with, like when we did your race, we got our butts kicked still, and I'd like to say we're beyond beginner. It was great, it was fantastic, but yeah, tell us a little bit about kind of your strategy behind that.
I think the strategy is, first of all, I go to places that I think are interesting. You know what I mean? And I like to have a variety of terrains. So like the Savannah event is one of the reasons it's very beginner friendly is because Savannah's on the coast and it's flat. And you're not going to have some 3-mile slog uphill to a TA where you're going to want to, throw your bike off the top of the mountain at the end of it. So that is part of it. I try to pick places that have good terrain. I was really lucky, actually, when we wound up in Croft Park because the mountain biking trails there are fantastic.
Yeah, Croft is great.
There was that segment, out to the east side that everybody was calling Murder Death Hill at the end. But then there was the stuff that was down by the river and it wasn't, it was not impassable at all. And so you could balance it out, Other than that, I don't think I'm designing events that are any different than what anybody else designs. I try to make the orienteering part of it easy because again, I'm trying to get new people in. And to be frank, I'm not some expert orienteer either. That's going to be hiding a pirate treasure somewhere. You know what I mean? Like there's only so much that I can do. But I do like to make sure that at least half the checkpoints are easy enough. You don't necessarily have to trip over them, but you're not going to go crazy with frustration trying to find them either.
Absolutely.
Because again, that takes away from the experience. I do have a policy that if anybody who's signed up for a race wants to call me and talk talk about what to expect, what to, as much as I can give out without giving out the course, obviously, but
Right.
that was always one of my favorite things at the company I worked at before, was just sort of guiding people through the process, especially the newer people who are like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and sort of pumping them up and being like, no, you can do this. Like you're trail running on the weekends, you know how to bike, you're going to be fine. And then we do the mini clinic the night before, which is not really a formal clinic, but people can come who are new, and I can kind of give them a once over of how the maps work, how this does it. Check out their packs, ask them about their nutrition. And that way people can kind of get their nerves settled, because it's really draining to be that stressed out, the day of, and your mind's all over the place and you're trying to figure out stuff, but that's energy that you can put into having a good experience. So I think that kind of sets us apart, in that people can come and I'll bring a map from an old race or a fake map that I've drawn up for something. I think the new racer email that I send out has a map that I literally faked up from Stone Mountain to show how people could use different parts of trail. And if you have like an east-west loop, but your bikes are, eventually going to be here, maybe you don't do this part over here, you just go this way, stuff like that. And that's just to get some of that first time jitters out of people, so that they're not panicking while they're out.
Yeah. And I can confirm, I mean, we both can. I remember before the race at Croft, we came to the pre-race meeting, just to say hi and to meet the others. And there were, I remember the two, the male and female racers from Florida.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah. And I remember just kind of like, at the start of the meeting, everyone was a little quiet and like questions started coming out slowly. And then by the end, it was like a free for all. And you could sense how comfortable everybody was asking questions. They didn't feel like, oh, I'm going to be the newbie standing out asking dumb questions. Like there is no such thing as a dumb question. And I thought that was such a great atmosphere you provided. It really did. And like, and then to see them the next day have such a great time.
Oh my God.
They did.
It was so cool.
Yeah. And here's the thing I'm really proud of. Both. Hang on. Both of those teams immediately went out and signed up for another race somewhere else. Like that's the goal. That's it.
Yep.
Like Kate and Josh have done like 3 races now.
Nice. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that.
That's the win.
Yeah. So. That totally is. The 2 guys that were there also at that meeting, we saw one at Long Creek.
Yeah, at Long Creek. That's right.
And I was like, hey, I know you. But so Tracey, I don't know if you remember this, but this is even how we met. I remember you posting in the trail and ultra running group for ladies only, something along the lines of like, hey, you guys should give adventure racing a try. We need more women. And I started messaging you, and I remember emailing you something along the lines of like, am I going to die at the bear? Because I was so nervous, and you were like, no, you kind of talked me off of that ledge, and I felt like I was going to die climbing up that mountain, but I did not. And so, so yes, I can confirm also on a personal level how awesome Tracey is at making you feel like, you can do this. And she's not lying to you either. Boy, that one kicked my butt. But anyway, it was a bear. Haha.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, there's a lot of climbing in that one.
Yeah, there is.
I thought our other teammate Brian was going to unfriend us, like in real life after that. Like I'm never.
Yeah, we haven't seen that much of her in decades.
Well, yeah, living in Myrtle Beach. Woo!
Oh yeah, it's flat.
So Tracey, as a racer yourself, what's your favorite part of adventure racing?
Oh, snacks?
Yes, me too.
No, I would say it's the camaraderie, between all the teams and between your teammates. I started out as a solo racer, in part because I just didn't know anybody else who was into it. And, I had kind of fallen into it backwards from doing other stuff. And it was a big deal to me when somebody called me and asked me to be on a team. My friend Danielle called me and said, hey, I want to do the turkey burn. and I want you to do it with me. And I was like, I don't, because I was just always terrified that I would slow people down, that I wouldn't be, so that was a big thing to me. That meant a lot. So I would say definitely the camaraderie, everybody you're out there for so long. You put yourself through some crazy stuff, especially if you're in like the overnight races, and you really bond, I mean, not just with your teammates, but with the other teams, and the way everybody swaps teams, like one time you'll do it with a couple people and then you'll swap out a member, and then the next time you all do it together, and that's super fun too. So that would probably be the best part of it.
We're approaching the team swapping.
Yeah.
We're doing the Rev 3 50-hour challenge in April with May with two of our friends up in Virginia. But last minute we had somebody who couldn't race Palmetto Swamp Fox here in like 2 weeks, and so we asked Morgan if she'd come down and race with us, and she's going to. So I'm really excited.
Nice.
It's like, yeah, it's going to be cool to race with somebody else who's got a whole different set of skills and experiences. And speaking of skills, she's an ER doctor, hospitalist.
That's
good. Mac is the ER.
She can fix us if we get broken in the woods. I don't know. She's
definitely a doctor.
Yeah, but yeah, and that's I've loved meeting. I used to think the ultra running community was small. It's got nothing on adventure racing.
I know, right?
No matter where you go, I feel like no matter where you go,
we're all in each other's back pockets all the time. Yeah.
You're like,
I know. I was talking to someone. I went out to dinner with one of my friends, who's a makeup artist from my previous existence, and we walk out of the restaurant, and it was when I still had my Kia Soul, and the kayak was on the roof, and I hadn't been anywhere in weeks. I just hadn't had time to take it down. And he's like, "What are you, like fucking Indiana Jones now?" And I was like, "This is my life now. Like, this is what I do all the time. These are my people now. Like, all my friends are adventure racers. None of my friends are TV people anymore." Just everybody's in each other's back pockets, and we're all at the same events. And I make the joke all the time that I volunteer at everybody else's events, because for me it's a giant cocktail party.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, I'm walking around with a beer and a cigarette going, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you since May. How have you been?" It's just ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we are noticing that, like, we're like, who wants to talk with us about adventure racing? It's like the same 5 people are like, well, I'll talk to you about it. Goodness. So, okay, let's go back to snacks, because this morning I was telling my kids on the way to school, I was like, so last week mommy was lost in the woods at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I finally came out of the woods, we hit a paved road, and there was a Circle K, and it was like the most beautiful vision.
It was the most beautiful thing you'd ever seen in your life, wasn't it?
My goodness.
Awesome.
And then
were there actual angels singing in the background?
It was all smelly adventure racers lining the curb, eating their snacks. And I was like, oh. And yeah, that was the greatest moment ever. So that said, if you stumbled upon a unexpected Circle K or aid station in the middle of the woods, and you have had nothing good to eat for hours, what would be your number one aid station snack?
Probably Doritos.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Because I'm a salty person, you know what I mean? Like, I'm allergic to chocolate. It gives me a massive headache. Yeah, I know. And everybody puts chocolate like all the power bars and stuff. So I have to be really annoyingly futzy about what I eat. And I'm kind of a corn chip guy. Like, I'm just like a salty, kind of spicy kind of person. So I would say the Cool Ranch Doritos would be a first. And then I can find some kind of like hard candy, like lemon drops or something, even though it's like you eat a whole bag of those and they fuck the inside of your mouth up.
They get the cuts like right here. Yeah.
Chewed up.
Yeah, because your mouth's all chewed up. So it'd be stuff like that. Yeah. Although that would make me thirsty. Like the Doritos would make me thirsty, and I'd have to get some Gatorade, but
you need like an ice cold Coke It's like the only time
Yeah.
I ever want soda is in the middle of the woods. Speaking of candy, just a fun story for everybody. On a whim before C2C last week, I was at the grocery store and I saw ginger candies, like made with real ginger. I'm like, I feel like somebody once said to have those on you in case your stomach gets upset. So I bought them totally on a whim, and holy cow,
They
it
work.
works.
Yeah.
So
Does
there's
it really? I
Yeah.
can't stand ginger. It's my least favorite thing because I used to get migraines, and you can take ginger capsules and there's something in it that relaxes your blood vessels, and it will actually make the migraine not go away, but it'll hurt less. But I learned to associate the taste of ginger with having a headache, and now I can't stand it. Like, I can't even stand it in Chinese food.
Yeah.
I can't tolerate it at all. On the other hand, anything that's salted caramel flavor, I will go to town. Like, you could put salted caramel on rats and I would eat them. Like, you have barbecued rats, but you have salted caramel. Okay, I'll take 2. Yeah,
At
that's my
Tracy's
flavor.
station, salted caramel wraps.
Oh, God.
Can you get a
You'll be
vegan?
seeing those at the next Possum Jump Adventure.
Okay, here come my
That'll be
hard,
at the barbecue at the end of the day.
here come my hard-hitting questions for you. If you could put on a race anywhere in the world, permits aside, let's pretend the park rangers or wherever are like, come on in. Where would it be?
Puerto Rico.
Ooh, and why is
Yeah.
that?
I used to go there all the time in the before times. Hopefully I'll be able to start traveling there again. It's one of my favorite places in the whole world. It's got beautiful, beautiful terrain and terrain and scenery, and the food's amazing for people who would travel there. The people are amazing. That I've just had just fantastic experiences there. It's got all kinds of coastline. So there's all kinds of, water stuff that you could do. And it's got mountains in the middle. So yeah, it would be there.
I would
It's
sign up for that
Yeah.
gorgeous.
for future reference.
Yeah, no, that's a bucket list thing for me to put on a race there. I'd really like to do it within the next couple of years, like put one on like that. And
Well-
it's you don't need a passport to go there.
Oh.
So if you're American, you can just get on a plane. All you need is a driver's license. So that would make the travel part of it really easy.
Sure.
And there's not a huge amount of hassle with bringing stuff in, because you're not going through customs the way you are going to a different country.
Yeah.
So that would knock down some of the barriers to entry for people who wanted to do like a big destination race.
Yeah.
And then you can, go lay on the beach for 2 days afterward and have a vacation.
Oh,
Heck
hell yeah.
Heck
Oh
yeah.
yeah, that's like a dream of mine, is to put one on there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, keep us posted if you need some, like, a boost.
A boost?
Yeah, like a cash boost.
Oh, apparently we're sponsoring this
Yeah,
this race to
Because
Puerto Rico.
maybe we can help sponsor them. I can't
Yeah.
promise anything, but we'll.
There's a fabulous team there. They're called PR Wildebeest. If you guys are listening, hi, I miss you. I met them at an expedition race a couple of years ago, and they were the bomb. They
Yeah.
were all ultra runners, I think, from Puerto Rico, and they had gotten into adventure racing. But I don't think there's anybody putting any of them on there. I know there's a big Spartan community there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because again, I used to go there a lot. But I don't, and there's a big road cycling thing there. Like, that's very popular there.
Really? Huh.
But I don't think there's anybody putting on adventure races. So it would be really fun to like get into that, maybe partner up with those guys and figure out where we could put it.
For sure.
Yeah, it'd be really cool.
Shout out to PR Wildebeest. I'm gonna look them up.
PR Wildebeest. Yeah, they were great.
Where they train and race.
I'm watching my dog. She's trying to catch a bee, and she's going to be really unhappy if she succeeds.
Oh, dog.
One of those huge fat carpenter bees.
Oh, those are the nice ones
I
too.
know, they're fun.
Speaking of animals, here's another one of my hard-hitting questions. Tracy, why doesn't anyone say the O in opossum down here?
I don't know.
My
I
new
really
English
don't. It's like the H in herb, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. And when I tell people, the name of the website is possumjump.com or whatever, I'm trying to spell it out. P-U da da da. I've never ever had anybody say, but there's no O.
Yeah, nobody.
So I think it's
Yeah.
like an old fashioned spelling,
Mhm.
like the way British people put a U and everything. And for
Yeah.
some reason, somebody slapped an O on that.
I like to be the one to pronounce it, and people get
Even I get.
Huffy.
yeah, look at me funny when I say opossum, but oh
And
well.
then somebody told me that it was Mike at Obstacle Running Adventures. He told me that like up north they don't have possums, and I was
What?
like,
That's not true.
okay.
Yeah, I can confirm from Vermont we have opossums. We also have skunks and raccoons and all of those fun things.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I always thought they were like a national dish, so to speak.
Jeffrey just yelled from down the hall, we have raccoons and skunks.
And squirrels and chipmunks.
Well, we don't have chipmunks here in Myrtle
There's
Beach,
no chipmunks
but
here in
that's
Myrtle
another, again, here goes my tangent. Okay, best moment in adventure racing. What's been your best experience so far?
Gosh. As a racer or as an event director?
Let's do one of each.
One of each. Best as a racer was definitely the day my friend Danielle called me and said, yes, please race with me. And I was like, surely not. And I actually had Brian Menard from Moon Howlers called me and said, why don't you do this expedition race with Moon Howlers? And I had the brains to say no to that because I wasn't in any kind of condition at the time to do it. But that was huge, for somebody to be like, yeah, we want you to come. So that would be probably the best as a racer. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
And then when Danielle and I did do the turkey burn together, that was the first race I had done where I didn't wind up in the water at the paddle segment. I'm kind of famous for falling out of the boat.
Oh,
So that was a victory.
that is a victory.
And then as a event director, it was probably everybody on the starting line at in Savannah. The first actually everybody on the finish line at Savannah, because the start was kind of rough. I made some rookie mistakes there. But so probably at the end of the Savannah race, it was the first one I built from the ground up. And everybody just had a blast, and I had somebody come to me, Donna Boots came to me and told me it was the most fun she'd had racing in years. And I was like, that was the best.
And she's no stranger to racing. She's got
right. Yeah. I mean, I talk all the time. I idolize Donna. I think she's amazing. And to have her say that was just like,
that's
awesome. And I had two people come to me and say, who lived in Savannah, and say, yeah, I've seen parts of Savannah today that I didn't even know existed. I didn't know that Salt Flats Trail was out there or whatever. And I was so pleased about it. Like, I was so happy about it, because that's what it's about, is giving people these experiences.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite things about adventure racing. Like, having spent so much time in the ultra world, I've been to a lot of these places already, but we're usually on like the same trail, same looper, even closer to home. For a few years there, we had an adventure race here in Myrtle Beach. It is now done and gone. But, we're out in the place where we train, and I'm still seeing things I've never seen before.
Yeah,
like,
never seen before.
And you don't see that in a traditional race where there's a route you have to stay on. So that is an awesome thing for sure. Okay, tell us your.
Yeah, and you have to be more aware of your surroundings in an adventure race, right? Because even if you're running an ultra, you're kind of in your own head and you're watching the markers, but you're not really, I don't know exactly how to express it. Actually, I'm really bad about this, speaking of tangents. When Danielle and I race together, she's always got to like pull me back, because we'll be doing something, we'll be paddling, and I'll be like, look, it's a lesser banded wood stork. Do you know they only nest here at this time of year? I see Geoff has had this problem
all the time.
And Danielle's like, you're aware that we're racing here, right? We're not on a nature tour. This is not Gilligan's Island. Like,
Right.
go. So I'm super bad about that. But yeah, I do like the fact that you have to really be aware because you're looking for stuff, you know?
Mhm.
You're not just in your head going, okay, am I going to make it to the next aid station? Do I have to throw up now? What? So,
Yeah, I actually found, so for those watching or listening that didn't know, Geoff and I just did our first multi-day at C2C. And having done ultra distances, 100 mile, I have 300 milers, a handful of like 24 and 48 hour races. I was super concerned about how tired I was going to feel over the course of 3 nights.
Yeah.
But come to find out, I wasn't nearly as tired in an adventure race as
really?
I.
Because that's what scares me about it too. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
I've
I
never done an
wasn't.
expedition like this. I don't think I could handle
Well,
a
and I
lack of
think
sleep.
it was because I had to stay mentally aware. And
Oh yeah.
I think that when you can check out like you do in ultras and just like zone out, you tend to get more tired because you're not putting in that.
Yeah.
But when you're actually like looking for something or trying to figure out where you're going, for me, it was not nearly as bad as I thought. I mean, I say that now a week later rested, but it didn't feel nearly as bad as I anticipated it to. And because you have to stay aware. It's pretty cool. I liked that. And also on a tangent, I did indeed try to like paddle backwards to go see some owls, and I got yelled at. I also I was leading. There was only 3 of us in the woods at night during the trek, and I stopped dead in my tracks because there was another owl. I was like, we have to take his picture.
Right.
So
No, that would be me too.
we'll have to race together one day and just like forget
Never
this
get done.
Yeah, we'll just have a bird list and like see how many we can get. We'll win the birding category.
When I was laying out the course for Savannah last year, I saw a bobcat.
Oh,
I've never seen. I mean, there are people who go their whole lives without seeing a bobcat, like park rangers and stuff, because they're just so shy. And to be fair, I only saw its butt as it was fleeing into shrubbery. But it was the high point of like laying out the course. I was like, shit, I saw a bobcat. You got kidding.
that's awesome.
It was like my Ranger Rick moment, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, he got to see the manatee last weekend, and I was so mad. Literally, the one time I have my head in my bag looking for snacks, I hear this splash, splash, and he's like, manatee, and these other guys were like, what was that? I'm like, yeah. I missed it. I was so jealous, but
yeah,
just have to go back.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us your worst moment in adventure racing, and it doesn't have to be necessarily like, a horrible worst moment, but maybe like, oops, I made a mistake or something like that.
that would be showing up at my first. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was the end of my first race. I talk all the time about that. I was in tears at the end of my first race. I was at the after party and everybody was having a great time, and I was just like sobbing on a bench. I mean, everything hurt, and I had just gotten my ass kicked so completely. And I had trained, like I had planned to do it for like 90 days beforehand. And I was really like low, you know. And I got, into my car and was like, I'll never do this again. This is the stupidest sport ever. And I don't want to do it anyway. I'm gonna take my ball and go home to my road bike. So yeah, I mean, it was just brutal. I was so unprepared, and and then it just stuck in my head and I couldn't leave it go. But that was probably the nadir, you know. And then as a race director, it was probably the starting line at the Savannah race when I realized I hadn't printed enough maps.
Uh-oh.
And that was a minor disaster that we managed to solve the problem, but that was a moment where I almost wet my pants.
Oh, I would
How did I do so?
Yeah.
I'm there and I'm like, I've got like the worst case of imposter syndrome anyway. And that morning, and trying to make everything work. And then I realized I've miscounted the maps. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Oh, no.
But we fixed it.
Good.
My teammate Danielle actually pulled it out. She ran and got the printer and we fixed the situation. But as a racer, definitely that first. God, I was just not prepared, you know. And
Mhm.
that's kind of why I'm so obsessed with helping people be prepared for them now. So
Mhm.
I don't want anybody to do that. I don't want anybody to feel like that ever, you know,
Absolutely.
at
But
least not on my events. So
what a great story though, that, you know, you stuck with it and now you're helping others rather than just being like,
yeah,
done,
Yeah.
I'm out, never doing this again.
yeah, I know. And when I started talking about, talking shit about it 6 weeks later, where I was like, you know what? I bet if I had done this, that would have gone better. Or I bet if I had, and my friends were like, stop talking about it. Like, you're never going to do it again. You hated it. You hated every second of it. Just shut up and get back on your bike and, go to the gym, whatever. But I just couldn't leave it alone. It was weird. So there's something about it. Yeah. That definitely sticks in the brain.
Mhm.
And I'm like that, the problem is nothing's ever going to be that hard again, and I had gotten into it. I was in an online fitness group called Nerd Fitness, and one of their shticks is that you set up these monthly challenges. Every month you have to do something. So one time I had to walk 10 miles with a ruck, and one time I learned to do a handstand, whatever. So this was that challenge, one of those challenges. Okay. I picked it and I worked towards it and I did it. And I was like, it's like nothing is ever going to be that hard again. Nothing is ever going to make me use every part of my body and my mind under pressure out by myself like that ever again. I'm never going to feel that way again unless I do it again, unless I go do one again. And so I just couldn't leave it alone. It was weird.
Yeah.
It's like I had a crush on it. It was weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and there's something so powerful about overcoming the thing that, you know, we thought like, oh, that was horrible and I never want to do it again. I think that's what keeps so many of us coming back for worse and
For
you know,
all of these kinds of sports. Yeah.
yeah. Every time I see someone say
Yeah.
like, oh, 50 miles, I'm never going further. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
talk to me in a few.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, two last questions for you, Tracey. One,
Okay.
if I was a new, you know, if there's a brand new, never raced before person who really wants to get into adventure racing but doesn't know where to start, what would be your first step, first advice for them?
First step is always sign up for something. Like
Mhm.
just pick a race. Doesn't matter what it is. Obviously pick something accessible. I have walked a lot of people through doing an expedition race as a first attempt. I don't recommend it. Because some people come out of it and are hooked for life, and some people come out of it and have to be basically institutionalized.
Yeah.
So pick something accessible. Pick 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, and that will focus your mind, right? Like deadlines focus the mind. Now you're going to do it. I would say don't stress super hard over the navigation, but get yourself a compass, get yourself a map. Even if it's just locally hiking, get out there and do it, practice with it. So it's not, it's going to be the thing that's the most unfamiliar the day of, I think, for most people. And then get accustomed to walking and biking at a moderate pace for long periods of time. Like block out an 8-hour day, where you're just hiking and biking. You don't have to be killing yourself. You're not, because that was something that definitely kicked my ass in the beginning. I remember when I was training kind of like you do for a triathlon, so I was doing like 2 hours on the bike and then 2 hours of trail hiking. And one of my friends was like, how long is your race? And I said, I think it was a 10. So it was like 10 hours. He's like, what's the longest you've done a workout for? And I was like, well, 4, like I hiked Stone Mountain and then I rode my bike, whatever. And he's like, how many hours difference is that? And I was 6. And he's like, you're going to hurt. You need to be out there for longer. And he was right. Like, even though I was going more intensely for those 4-hour workouts, because that's what people don't realize too. They don't realize you're not out there sprinting. Like, this is not an Ironman.
Right.
You're not out there running for 8 hours. You're doing, at the most, you're doing the ultra shuffle, where you're like barely moving faster than walking. But you're doing it for a long, long time. So, I think that would have been the thing that would have helped me the most. Because as you get that as that fatigue builds up, if you're not ready to go for 8 hours, your spirits are going to start to come down. And that's a bad combination. So that would be probably my biggest advice. Get used to just moving for 8 hours. How many of us move for 8 hours a day? Almost nobody.
I know. No, that's fantastic advice. In fact, that's kind of one of the approaches that we stumbled upon early on when we started racing, is that we just go out for the day, and it's like not training in the traditional sense. We're not going hard for, like anyone who sees my Instagram, I'll post pictures of us like laying in the field having a picnic, but we're out there and we just keep going and going, and that does make a difference, because you kind of get your expectations of like, this is what it feels like to be out all day. And that's what you do. Yeah. That's fantastic. And
the
also,
other thing is check your pack weight. Because you got to carry that pack.
Still working.
I think my first few times, my pack was like 12 pounds, and it was awful. Like, 6-8 hours in, that 12 pounds feels like 50.
Yeah. Mine, I way overpacked for C2C.
Yeah, I'm the worst. I'm the absolute worst. And I'm the worst too, because I'm a gel person. People have their different snacks and stuff, and everybody's got their own preferences. And obviously anybody who's done any kind of endurance racing or whatever knows you don't change your snacks the day of, because that's just
disaster.
Right. But like, everybody's got preferences, and I happen to find the gel's really easy to digest. Too many power bars and stuff will make me thirsty and will make me honestly kind of upset my stomach. And I can eat gels on the bike without stopping, whereas I can't do that with a power bar or something. So anyway, I'm a gel person, and gels are heavy, which sucks, but it's because they're wet. So yeah, you got to triage your pack and your snacks and stuff, but I always wind up overpacked hopelessly, because I'm just that guy. But
speaking of overpacking, at Possum jump at Croft last year, I ended up doing the whole last leg with a bike lock.
Oh, that's right. I remember about that.
I forgot to take it out between the bike leg and the last track.
Oh, and that was all that running too. That long
we weren't really running at that point.
That's one of the things, experience.
Nobody was.
Yeah, and that's.
Well, I was very impressed that almost everybody, like, I thought everybody was going to go up that trail to that deadfall checkpoint, and nobody did. Everybody went out.
Like,
everybody was like, it's longer, but it's easier.
Yep. Although that hill got like steeper and steeper and steeper each minute, it felt like, but and yeah, I agree. So much of this stuff is just learned through experience. Like, you can't necessarily practice for it until you've done it. So first step, just sign up. And for those who aren't sure, I've had people ask me, is there an ultra sign up for adventure racing? And there isn't, but I've found the best place is to, if you're on Facebook, join the Women of AR and the adventure racing discussion group. Like, most things flow through there. And if not, you can kind of like find connections through there to find races. I don't know any.
Well, USARA has a calendar.
Does it have everything on it?
It has everything that people have entered in the USARA. So if you haven't done USARA, they're not going to know about it.
Well, I learned something new today. Good to know.
Yeah, and I actually wound up hosting. I'm going to be hosting all my races on Run Sign Up this year.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make it easier for people to sign up. Last year when I was doing it, I just did everybody by hand and sent them a PayPal invoice. But with 5 events and with some other stuff, I just wanted to make it as easy as possible on people. And I actually even like the Savannah race is 150 a person.
Mhm.
But if you sign up on one sign up, it's only 140 because you have to pay like a little fee to them. So
Mhm.
that way it still works out to like basically 150. Like I
Yeah.
didn't want people to have to pay that fee on top of the 150. So I like docked it down. But that way people they can pay however they want and use whatever method they want. And it's just easier for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about um losing a team or something in the shuffle, which is how I came up a map short.
I feel like it's only beneficial for you as a race director too, because it makes it too easy on our end. Like the other day I was signing up for another friend's race on ultra sign up, and literally I had to do like 2 clicks and it was done. I'm like, that was
It's done.
everything's saved. It's got my credit card information. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's Dave.
Yeah.
Click in.
Yeah, I would really like to see adventure racing get to the point where you can do one every weekend. You
I
know what
know.
I mean?
That
Like with OCR and ultras and stuff, you can do that,
Mhm.
OCR is not quite there, but the ultras, man, you could run, if you don't enjoy the cartilage in your knees, you could run, 50K every weekend.
Yep.
But
As coaches, we unfortunately try to talk people out of doing that.
out of doing that, something like that, yeah. But I mean, theoretically, you could do it. And because I think that just helps bring more people to the sport. The more, if there's only 3 races, available in a region, then, oh, my kid's got, dance recital that day, and oh, that one we have to go to a wedding. So now you can't do it. So if there's more races available, more people are going to be able to do it, which is good for the sport.
Absolutely. And I would love to see that. I mean, we hear people all the time say like, oh, if you want to get into adventure racing, find an orienteering meet. Well, we don't have those here.
God, no.
Those are nowhere near us either. So
Yeah.
both of those things, it would be cool to see more of them. So
Yeah, and you think like adventure racing is, all right, I gotta calm my diaphragm down.
okay.
If you
Got the tickle.
Oh my God, never get the flu. If you think adventure racing is niche and tiny, man, go into orienteering. They are like, there's like 6 people doing it.
Yeah.
It's like the tiniest sport.
We did one meet in where were we? Crowders?
Crowders, I
It was
think.
somewhere in North Carolina, and we got our butts whooped by like some like 80-year-old people.
Yeah.
And then
really
some
damn-
Boy Scouts. But yeah, we had a blast, but it was way harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, because in that making the navigation hard is the point.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I was
For me-
I was like overthinking it and underthinking it, and it was a mess.
Right. And sometimes, as a race director with the navigation, you're using it almost to guide people on the path you want.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I have an area, when I'm laying out the navigation, it isn't just about making it hard and making it hard for you guys to find. It's also, okay, I want the race to flow in this direction. I don't want them to go over here because this terrain is shitty here. There's traffic. So if I put 2 checkpoints here and then another one here, they're gonna go that way.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
That does make sense.
So that's one of those things that when you're laying out maps and things, that you're like using it almost as a tool to direct the flow more than, okay, if I can hide this under an outhouse 2 miles from the trail junction, nobody's gonna find it. Yes, like that's not what I'm trying to do.
Do you find yourself like, if you're out doing your own training or just out for fun, do you find yourself being like, "Ooh, this would be a good place for a checkpoint"? Because he does that all the time. He
Oh
doesn't
my
even
God,
direct
yeah.
races.
That's bold of you to assume I go out and have fun.
Oh.
No, it is, and I spend a lot of time looking at maps and parks and stuff, and I'll see places will come up on Instagram, like pictures of park, because I'm a complete, visual whore. I'm just scrolling through Instagram all day. And I'll be like, ooh, wonder where that is. I bet I could put an event on there. So you do get that, you get that, oh, look at that trail. I just saw something the other day. There's a trail, a mountain to sea trail in North Carolina that just got completed or just got, anyway, it was being pimped on the Far Out app.
Mhm.
And I was looking at it and I was like, ooh, that's hot. 48 hour there.
Ooh,
Mm.
So
that could get me to go.
also you see stuff like that and you're like, I could make something.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any last questions for Tracey before I ask her my final closing question?
It's a closing question.
I don't think so.
Tell us a dad joke.
God damn
Oh,
it.
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, you go first.
you know who you need for this is Tom Quattlebaum from Team Jumanji. Have you met those guys? He's like a connoisseur of dad jokes. He has a repertoire. He loves a good dad joke. But the only one I can think of is, what did the ocean say to the beach?
See you later. I don't know.
It didn't say anything, it just waved.
That's a good one. Okay,
All right,
here's mine. It's more of commentary. There aren't very many people named Lance these days, but back in the medieval times, they were named Lance a lot.
Very.
Goodness, I entertain myself. That's what matters, right? We're having a good time here. Tracey, where can
That's
people
good.
find
Geoff
you?
is like, oh my God.
Married, you can't get rid of me.
I know, it's true, yeah.
So yesterday, so I was sick all week, right? That's why I'm sound so horrible. But I was sick all week last week, and yesterday was the first day I went anywhere. I had to meet a friend of mine who's designing a poster for me for another event. And we're sitting in a coffee shop and we're having to talk. And I'm even worse than I am now. Okay, because I'm still coughing a lot and whatever. So I've literally got a bottle. I'm at the point where I've got a bottle of children's cough syrup sitting on the table with the lid off at the coffee shop, because every now and then I'm literally just picking it up like it's a water bottle and just swinging out of it just so I can talk enough to get through this design meeting. My friend Andy Jackson is doing the poster for something and it's fabulous, but and so every now and then I would look up and we're not in a booth somewhere, we're in a table in the middle of a coffee shop and there's people all around and I'm like, and people are making that same face that Geoff just made as I'm drinking out of my cough syrup bottle. Like, your parents must be really proud. Because I'm like sucking down kind of like a wino. But it was the only way to get through this meeting and be able to talk.
Aw.
So,
Oh, I'm used to the look, man. But
So I'm used to the look too. So.
people were just...
So next up is Savannah Scramble in April, right? Yeah.
April 22nd.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. And where can people find out more information about that race or other races of yours?
The mothership obviously is the website, which is www.possumjump.com. Possum like the animal, Possum. Jump like jump up and down. They can also follow us on Facebook, where we are Possum Jump Adventures, and on Instagram, which is also Possum Jump Adventures. The content on those two platforms is pretty similar. So if you have a preference, you don't have to follow both. The Facebook has more stuff on it just because I'm on it more. And sometimes I'll just throw up random stuff that's interesting. But in terms of announcing events and information on races and stuff, it's pretty consistent across the two platforms. I have yet to get into TikTok, so there's no TikTok.
Can't either.
But and then our races are hosted on Run Sign Up as they open. So you can go on there and type in, I think you can just type in the Possum Jump Adventures name and it will bring up anything that we have. But right now, the only one that's open for registration is Savannah, because
Okay.
that's about 7 weeks away.
Cool. And remember, everybody, no O in opossum.
No O in opossum. I wonder
Awesome.
what that is. I wonder if it's like some weird leftover from Latin or something.
We're gonna find this out, and that'll be episode 2
That'll be episode 2. Hopefully I'll be able to talk better.
of whatever that this is. We haven't decided yet, but thank you for joining us on whatever this is. We're just gonna call it that. Welcome
Yeah.
to whatever this is we're doing this week. No, but seriously, thank you so much, Tracey. We can't wait to share this with our, clients, followers, friends, and hopefully we will see some of you at the Savannah Scramble. in
We'll see
April.
Tracey.
Well, no, I know, but everybody else will see Tracey.
Oh, yeah.
But we want other people to join us.
Yes,
into-
definitely.
Into racing
There's
fun.
definitely still space. So
Awesome. Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I'll put all that information in the YouTube caption below so that you can contact Tracey if you need her.
yay.